time again. New Year's Eve, we're going to take a road trip to one of the crown jewels of my home, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We're going to be going to the town of Chatham, the elbow of the Cape. I chose Chatham for this episode of the podcast, coinciding with New Year's Eve, because as far as celebrations on the Cape go, Chatham was always the one that has the best first night festivities. Granted, in 2020, it's not going to be the same, but I figured it's a perfect excuse to talk about one of my favorite places, not just on the Cape, but in New England in general. Chatham is a perfect mixture of history and recreation and shopping and culture and everything that you want in a place that you would visit on a vacation. For me, if I was going to be going here, I would start with Chatham Lighthouse. It is easily my most photographed spot on Earth. Now, granted, I haven't been that many places on Earth, but I have hundreds and hundreds of photographs of Chatham Lighthouse. Originally, there were two Chatham Lighthouses. There were wooden ones, and due to erosion on the cliffs, the first two lighthouses collapsed and they just allowed them to fall into the water. They were replaced in the 1880s with two cast iron towers. That's what I mentioned earlier in the Mayo Beach piece. Cast iron towers, they were the common ones back then. And there were two of these cast iron towers surrounding a Coast Guard station. In 1923, one of these lighthouses was dismantled and shipped up to Eastham, where it now resides as Nauset Lighthouse. Chatham Light faces Lighthouse Beach, and Lighthouse Beach is an excellent place to go for sunrises or sunsets, but the sun will rise over the Atlantic Ocean, and it's great because the fishing boats that head out, they pass right under the sun as it rises. They come from the area right up the road, the Chatham Fishing Pier. That's another spot. You go there, the seals and seagulls are everywhere. Seals wait for the fishing boats to come back and catch any cast-offs that may be tossed off of the boats. The Chatham Fish Pier, besides being a tourist destination to take pictures of the seals and see the boats, it's also, the Chatham Fish Pier is a market where they sell fresh seafood, and that's another destination in Chatham. It's on Shore Road, which I think is one of the best drives on Cape Cod. As far as the scenery, it's got these rolling hills, and on the left, if you're heading north, there are these big homes that face the water, and on the right is the water itself. One of the crown jewels of Cape Cod is the Chatham Bars Inn, which is also on Shore Road. It sits at 297 Shore Road and was first opened in 1914. It's one of the destinations as far as luxury resorts go on the Cape. It's an excellent place to visit. Also, you don't have to stay there. They've got restaurants, but if you do stay, they've got a private beach, tennis courts. It's everything you could want. Circling back, Chatham has an excellent Main Street. That's one of those, you think of Main Street, you get a picture in your head of the early 20th century sort of walking and the shopping and the restaurants, and it has that. It's got the Orpheum Theater, which was built in 1915 and still shows first-run movies. And if you keep walking, you'll find restaurants and bars like the iconic Chatham Squire that's been around for over 50 years. You can't go wrong in there, whether you want to have a family dining meal or go into the bar that has hundreds of license plates adorning the walls. For more fine dining, there's the Wild Goose Tavern, which is also on Main Street. It's a fun section of town to just walk and explore. I could go through and name places that are there, but they may not be what you're looking for. Gift shops, restaurants, bookstores. It all depends on your taste. You just park along Main Street, walk up and down, and you never know what you might find. If you go back to the Chatham Lighthouse and you head south from there, there's a spot down there, Morris Island, the road. It leads you to the Monomoy Wildlife Refuge. And that's a great spot to go and hike, and you're really not in the middle of nowhere, but you're so far removed from society. You're at the point of the elbow of Cape Cod, and you walk and you get to be kind of one with nature, which is something I really enjoy. Monomoy Island used to be attached to Cape Cod. And over the years, with erosion and the shifting sands of Cape Cod, it's now detached from the mainland. One of my last big expeditions, something to see on Cape Cod, is Monomoy Island Lighthouse, which is down near the southern tip of Monomoy Island. It's well over 5 miles south of Chatham proper. The only problem is you've got to take a boat to get out there. My buddy Steve, he's got a boat that he worked hard on to get fixed up, and we actually did a nice road trip across the water to Sandy Neck Lighthouse. But he said the shoals around Monomoy are so bad that taking a smaller boat there is just like asking to crash. So basically, I'm looking to do a chartered boat maybe at some point to get out there to see Monomoy Lighthouse. If beaches are your thing, Chatham has a lot of those also. There's Harding's Beach, which is excellent because Stage Harbor Lighthouse is about a mile walk out on the beach, and you can walk out there to Stage Harbor Light. Doesn't have a lantern, so I always call it a headless lighthouse, but that's where the entrance to Stage Harbor is, and people are always down there fishing. They walk the mile out there to fish because of the tides bringing the fish in and out. And Stage Harbor itself is interesting because in 1605 and 1606, French explorer Samuel de Champlain actually docked in Stage Harbor and stayed there for a little while, but he had some hostile encounters with the local natives and didn't stay there very long. So there's a plaque near Stage Harbor commemorating his arrival there, and that's kind of a hidden gem. You wouldn't know it if you're driving along near Stage Harbor. It's a stone next to some reeds and a little creek, but me being someone that likes to walk and explore, I found it. There are some other great beaches like Ridgevale Beach, which is a lesser known spot, but it has a couple of neat walking bridges over a creek to get to the beach. And there are so many other things to see in Chatham. There's too many to mention. There's other places to stay, like the Chatham Inn. There's off-the-beaten-path places to explore, like the Godfrey Windmill. There's Kate Gould Park, which is on Main Street. But don't take my word for it. Obviously, if you've never been to Chatham, just go there and explore. Take the time to, you can drive around, but it's even better to walk or take a bike. You can go see hidden history. Like I mentioned, Chatham Lighthouse. There's a monument there for the Pendleton disaster, about the shipwreck that occurred in 1952. It was made into a pretty big movie called The Finest Hours, and the book was written by Casey Sherman, a local author and writer. He's actually doing some more interesting stuff coming up that I'm excited about, but obviously I wouldn't spoil that. But I'm very excited about a project he's got coming up. Hopefully at some point I'll have him on here so he can kind of just chat about his connection to Cape Cod, but that's for another day. First explored by Europeans in 1605 and 06, and first incorporated as a town in 1712. For centuries, Chatham has been, in my opinion, the crown jewel of Cape Cod, but that's just my opinion. Do yourself a favor and take your own road trip to Chatham and see what there is to see there. And I'll talk to you in 2021 with another road trip. Who knows where we'll go that time.